How is the Iran conflict unfolding? Not in the quick, decisive way many predicted. Instead, we are witnessing a complex strategic standoff, one where endurance, economic leverage, and military tactics interact in real time. Iran's approach focuses on asymmetric strategies, low-cost drones, selective strikes, and regional signaling that force high-cost defensive responses. As this conflict enters its most dangerous phase, what we are witnessing is not just another Middle Eastern war, it is a stress test of the entire international order. This is no longer a contained confrontation, defined by limited strikes and predictable retaliation. Instead, it is a multidimensional contest unfolding across military theaters, energy markets, diplomatic corridors, and financial systems. From the earliest exchanges to the widening regional implications, the message has become unmistakable. Modern war does not remain confined. When strategic sites, such as Incirlik Air Base, are drawn into calculations, when the Strait of Hormuz becomes a focal point of anxiety, when trade corridors linking India to Europe experience tremors, this ceases to be a bilateral dispute. It becomes systemic. The ripple effects travel faster than missiles. Insurance markets react. Energy futures spike. Diplomatic language hardens. The battlefield expands beyond geography into perception, economics, and global stability. The core strategic question is no longer who wins the next exchange. It is far deeper. What does victory even mean? Is it regime change? Deterrence restoration? Strategic exhaustion? Or simple survival? History repeatedly shows that tactical precision does not guarantee strategic success. Air campaigns can degrade infrastructure, yet they rarely dismantle identity. Civilizations with deep historical continuity do not capitulate on command. National resilience often strengthens under pressure. The assumption that technological superiority alone determines outcomes overlooks the psychological and cultural dimensions of endurance. In prolonged conflicts, narratives matter as much as hardware. And the longer a confrontation persists, the more difficult it becomes to define an end state that all sides can claim as success without destabilizing the broader region. Credibility is also on trial. Great powers project strength to deter escalation, not invite it. When force is used, expectations rise. Allies observe closely. Adversaries evaluate thresholds. Neutral states quietly calculate risk exposure. If a prolonged conflict exposes logistical constraints, economic fatigue, or political division, global perceptions shift. And perception, in geopolitics, carries weight equal to capability. The strategic balance depends not only on assets deployed, but on confidence sustained. A drawn-out confrontation risks transforming displays of strength into demonstrations of limitation. In a multipolar environment, reputational capital can erode faster than physical assets. This is why strategic patience, coordination, and calibrated messaging matter as much as operational success. There is also a financial dimension, often underestimated in the first weeks of conflict. Energy markets respond immediately to instability near the Strait of Hormuz, a maritime corridor responsible for a significant share of global oil transit. Even limited disruption triggers insurance reassessments, shipping reroutes, and currency volatility. Bond yields fluctuate. Central banks adjust projections. Supply chains recalibrate delivery timelines. A prolonged regional confrontation does not simply redraw geopolitical lines, it reshapes balance sheets. In a globally interconnected economy, sustained financial strain can pressure decision-makers more effectively than conventional force. Markets become strategic arenas. Investors become silent participants. Economic resilience becomes a form of defense. The risk of escalation remains the most sobering variable. As long as hostilities remain conventional and geographically constrained, damage, though severe, remains containable. But modern conflict rarely unfolds in isolation. The introduction of new actors, advanced technologies, or miscalculations can alter trajectories rapidly. In a world defined by near-peer competition, localized confrontations carry global implications. Strategic signaling can be misinterpreted. Defensive maneuvers can be perceived as offensive. Escalation ladders, once climbed, are difficult to descend. Responsible leadership on all sides requires maintaining communication channels even during periods of intense friction. History demonstrates that misunderstandings, not intentions alone, often widen wars. Another dimension shaping this moment is constitutional authority within the United States. Under the U.S. Constitution, Congress holds the power to declare war, while the president serves as commander in chief. The War Powers Resolution requires notification within 48 hours of introducing forces into hostilities and limits sustained engagement without authorization. Debate over executive authority in extended military operations is not partisan, it is structural. The balance between swift action and democratic oversight reflects the foundational architecture of American governance. Decisions made during periods of crisis establish precedents that endure beyond any single administration. In times of tension, adherence to constitutional frameworks reinforces institutional stability and public trust. What may ultimately be unfolding is part of a broader geopolitical transition. For decades, the United States operated as the primary military anchor of the Middle East. Today, that dominance is being tested not solely by adversaries, but by economic realities, regional recalculations, and shifting alliances. Regional actors are asserting greater autonomy. Strategic hedging has become common practice. Emerging powers are expanding influence through trade, infrastructure, and diplomatic engagement. This transformation does not signal collapse, but evolution. The international system is becoming more multipolar, more competitive, more decentralized, and less predictable. The emerging regional security alignment among several Muslim-majority countries represents the notable inflection point. While far from a formalized alliance, coordination across military planning, economic partnerships, and diplomatic messaging is increasing. For Israel, the United States, and neighboring states, this evolving dynamic introduces new variables into deterrence calculations. Strategic depth is no longer defined solely by bilateral agreements. Instead, layered networks of cooperation shape influence. Understanding these shifts requires analytical clarity rather than rhetoric. The architecture of Middle Eastern security is gradually transitioning from externally dominated to regionally recalibrated frameworks. Ultimately, stability, not domination, may prove to be the only sustainable definition of victory. Military strength can influence immediate outcomes, but lasting security depends on economic resilience, diplomatic engagement, and regional balance. The weeks ahead will likely determine whether diplomacy regains momentum, whether escalation widens, or whether financial constraints compel strategic recalibration. But regardless of short-term outcomes, this conflict has already accelerated a transformation long underway. The old Middle East is fading. A new strategic landscape is emerging. And the rules governing that landscape will not be written by one power alone, but by the balance of many. This is not simply a war to observe. It is a turning point to understand. This content is created for informational and educational purposes. The views expressed are based on publicly available sources, documented reports, and analysis at the time of production. We aim to present facts responsibly and encourage critical thinking. This video is not intended to defame, mislead, or target any individual or organization. Viewers are encouraged to conduct their own research and form their own conclusions. Thank you to all our viewers for your constant support. Your time and trust mean everything to us. Please keep watching, like the video, and share it so this message can reach more people. Your support helps us continue this journey. Thank you.